Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
A quorum is present for City Council, Successor Agency, and Housing Authority.
Thank you. Public comment. Any person wishing to address City Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority, any item of today's agenda may do so at this time, emphasizing today's agenda. With that, we'll close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Warrant register.
Madam Clerk.
City Council, Successor Agency, and Housing Authority members: Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Butts.
Aye. We're going to have a presentation on strategies proposed in a strategic plan for economic development. Welcome, Ms. Garrett.
Good afternoon, Mayor Butts, members of the City Council. My name is Sharon Mann Garrett, and I have the honor and privilege of being your Economic Development Manager. In collaboration with the Mayor, Economic Development staff has completed a strategic plan for economic development. About a 10-minute presentation. I'd like to just go over briefly go over the elements of the plan. I'll talk about our.
Can you get closer to the mic, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'll talk about our economic development mission, economic indicators, conditions and considerations, our strategic economic development methods, and our action timeline. We'll just go over that briefly. First of all, in formulating the plan, we wanted to establish what Inglewood is, and I think everyone agrees that Inglewood has always been diverse and inclusive. But what's happened over the past 8 years of this administration is that we've become very, very desirable, and we are absolutely destined for growth. So our economic development mission is that we will drive economic growth with a diverse mix of businesses that serve residents and visitors and complement the existing city. We plan to reinforce the citywide brands of sports, entertainment, recreation and culture, and Class A office business. We aim to preserve high quality of life for our residents and encourage business and neighborhood compatibility. We use economic indicators to gauge how we're doing. The indicators that we're most concerned with are property values, trade area growth, employment and household income, and numbers of family-oriented activities and organizations and educational opportunities here in Inglewood. So moving forward, there are a couple of things that we like to consider. First, that we have become a visitor destination with national and really international exposure. We have high-quality infrastructure, quality housing stock, a diverse business mix, and we're a arts and culture hub. In my department, economic and community development, we see economic development as a team effort, including planning, building safety, code enforcement, and economic development, all led by our director, Chris Jackson. Together, we implement a business attraction strategy, business assistance, economic information disbursement, business policy development, and asset maximization. So first, I'll just go over our business attraction strategy. The number one strategy to attract businesses right now is to promote their opportunity to do business with the visitors that converge here in Inglewood. We're promoting our adjacency to transit. We're promoting the growth in retail sales that we're experiencing here. We're promoting the growth in household income, and we're promoting the overall diversity in our business mix. For our business assistance strategy, we conduct business workshops. We provide one-on-one and group guidance to any businesses that are interested in talking to us. We provide access to expansion loans, and we provide linkage to educational resources for improving their technical operations. Another important strategy of ours is economic information. We publish bilingual economic development information via social media, business events, and at large to stakeholders that are interested in what's going on in the Inglewood economy. Some of our publications are economic indicators, major projects update of development projects, policy information, and other general information. Another strategy of ours is to influence policy. We participate in the regional advocacy community. We address trends in the shared economy within our planning and our strategies. We monitor legislative actions. And more will be influencing the California tourism agenda and facilitating business districting. The final strategy we're engaged on is asset maximization. We monitor the inventory of right-of-way assets. We track city compensation from those assets, and we always seek to develop new potential assets that will provide revenues from the city's right-of-way assets. And here's a brief timeline of the activities we'll be doing over the next couple of years. In 2019, we've continued to pitch retail for visitor-serving businesses. We're continuing our business assistance to the community. We participate in policy development as it pertains to economic development region-wide. We're expanding our economic information to a wider stakeholder audience, and we're monitoring asset development and city compensation from those assets. Next year, when the stadium opens and the metro station opens, we'll be fostering new business openings downtown Market Street. Undoubtedly, new businesses will open there. We'll develop visitor information programs and begin the process of looking at property-based business improvement districts and business-based business improvement districts. In 2021, when new housing opens and additional new retail opens, we'll expand our visitor information programs and begin to formulate RP bids and bids. So with that ends my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If not, I'll be happy to meet with you individually and go over the aspects of this plan.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Consent calendar, items 2 through 7.
So moved.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. SPH 1.
Staff report requesting a public hearing to be set to consider adjusting water service rates.
Set the public hearing for November 5th, 2019 at the hour of 2 p.m. DR 1.
Staff report presenting the proposed annual budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
I thought Thomas was going to give it. I said, you are diversifying, my man.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. It's my honor to present the FY 1920 operating budget. I have a great team of employees that work with me throughout the year to prepare the budget for your consideration. They include David Esparza, Sharon Koike, Kiona Buchanan, and her staff, Kenyatta Hinton and Clara Cabrera. Our total operating budget is $251,790,710. However, my portion of the budget presentation today will only focus on the general fund. Ms. Buchanan will discuss the citywide budget as part of her presentation. Last year was the first time in 10 years the City Council approved a balanced budget without the use of reserves.
You want to pull the microphone down towards you?
I'll let you know when to do it. And I'm happy to inform you for the second year, the city's general fund budget is balanced without the use of general fund reserves. Can all be applauded for that. So, you can go to the next slide. Our general fund revenues are $125,511,425. Our general fund expenditures are $125,419,540, with a surplus of $91,885. Annually, as part of the, you can change the slide. Annually, as part of the budget presentation, significant general fund budget line items increases are highlighted, which are outside the city's control. Some of the most significant increases are as follows. Increased costs associated with salaries and medical benefits are common and are necessary in order to attract and retain employees. The city's general fund FY 1920 personnel-related costs are approximately $96,627,553. This is a 5.4% or $4,988,295 increase over last fiscal year. The increase would have been higher, however, staff has included a $5 million projected salary savings that we expect to realize through normal position attrition. Two, over the last 5 years, PERS costs have increased $7,424,751, which is a 77% increase, and are expected to grow to $37 million over the next 5 years. CalPERS retirement costs for FY 1920 is $29,456,121. This represents an increase of 10.5% or $2,798,146 when compared to last year. Regarding our fire contract, the City of Inglewood contracts with the County of Los Angeles for fire protection services. The county added a cost of living adjustment known as a COLA to the FY 1920 fire services contract. Total cost for LA County fire contract is $16,628,412. The COLA and related benefits are a primary factor resulting in 11.1% increase or $1,657,322. And lastly, for retiree health and retiree healthcare costs, active and retiree healthcare costs. In January 2018, the City Council approved a change in the city's healthcare providers. This has allowed us to keep the increase to a minimum. However, in FY 1920, healthcare cost expenditures are increasing. Healthcare costs are $15,624,907, of which $5.1 million is attributed to retirees. The overall healthcare increase is 5%, or $745,710 from the prior fiscal year. Now what I'd like to do is turn over the remainder of the presentation to Ms. Kiona Buchanan, who will discuss the general fund in more detail and also aspects of the citywide budget.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, members of the public, administrative staff. I'm pleased to assist in the presentation for the fiscal year 2019-20 budget. I'll be starting with the revenues. The total citywide revenues are projected to be $233,964,069. This slide provides a snapshot of the citywide revenues by fund, grouped by category, percentage, and amount. As you can see, $125,511,425, or 54% of the citywide budget, is allocated to the general fund. Other funds grouped by category type that support the citywide revenues significantly are our proprietary funds at 19%, $43.5 million. They include water, sewer, sanitation, and parking. Our special fund revenues at 11%, or $25.4 million. They include all of the state, federal, and county allocated support. CDBG and housing at 9%, $21.6 million. That's inclusive of all the HUD, Housing and Urban Development Funds. And in addition to that, we have our Measure IT, debt service, special assessment, and grants. That total citywide, as I presented, is $233,964,069. Our next slide here represents the general fund revenues by source. The general fund budget is $125,511,425. This slide provides a glance of general fund revenues by source, percentage, and amount. The fiscal year 2020 general fund revenues are $2.56 million, or 2% less than 19. The slight reduction is a result of less one-time revenues anticipated this fiscal year. Although revenues appear to be slightly 2% less this fiscal year, the overall general fund revenues are experiencing some significant increases. For example, business license tax as presented are projected to be $7 million. That's an additional $850,000 from the prior fiscal year. Our franchise and TOT taxes combined also are going up by an additional $2 million. 5 points, are also going up by additional $2 million.
Fiona,
I'm sorry.
real quickly though, but help people understand the significance of what that means. A $2 million increase in franchise fees, that's highly unusual and extremely favorable for the city, is it not?
That is correct.
And backing up one slide so that people don't think that we have like $100 million that we just don't do anything with, please explain to people what the restricted funds means and why those aren't available for using for other city purposes.
So the restricted funds in respect to, for example, our proprietary funds, those funds are only to be supported and allocated for proprietary use, whether it's our water fund, our sewer, sanitation, or parking. They all bring in their own revenue, and those revenues are to be spent strictly on those services, whether it's water, sewer, and sanitation. The same goes for our special revenues. Our special revenues include things that are related to state, federal, and county, which means those funds can only be spent on allocated support for state, federal, and county activities.
That are mandated by
That are
the
mandated.
county and the state. So the city doesn't have the luxury of saying, oh, we have this money and we can use it over here for whatever we want. I just want people to understand. So when we say we have an over $200 million total fund, that includes restricted funds, funds that are grant funds, funds that we receive in support of state and county activities.
That
and
is
I just want to
correct.
make that very, very clear. In other cities, they call proprietary funds enterprise funds. It means you're kind of running a business. And right, like our providing water is our business, and
Correct.
we can only use those funds that come from the sale of water to support that enterprise fund.
Because the proprietary is in support of what we bring in. You'll see on my expenditure slide as we get through it, you will see enterprise expenses, meaning we're now spending that money on the enterprise, which is the outgoing, the expense portion.
Okay, thank you very much.
So as I continue, I was mentioning that though it appears as if we had a slight reduction, all of our general fund revenues have actually experienced some form of an increase or another. Okay, so we're clear on that? All right. So with that said, we have our revenue discussion. I will be going through the revenue discussion and providing a brief overview for our fiscal year 20 revenues in these following categories: sales and use tax, property tax, business tax, TOT taxes, transit occupancy tax, card club, and motor vehicle and lieu tax. Sales tax revenues are projected to be $18.3 million in fiscal year 1920, an increase of $2.8 million or 18.5% from 19. Although it appears as if we will experience an increase of $2.8 million from 19 to 20, there was a one-time allocation adjustment related to the stadium sales tax receipts in 19 that skewed the anticipated amount to be collected. That difference, which is roughly 2.2, was collected but recognized in our revitalization revenues. Okay? Property tax. As all would know, we were listed in the LA Times this year in terms of our property tax and the potential growth that we have acquired as a result of our new stadium there. Our property taxes are estimated to be $22.9 million, which is approximately 4.7 or 25.7% higher than last fiscal year. The increase is greatly attributed to the pension override tax returned back to the city, providing an additional $4 million. In addition to that, the city is also experiencing a net taxable value increase of 25.7% for the 1920 tax roll for all properties in the city of Inglewood. The assessed values increase of $2.4 million between 19 and 20 is due to the recreational category of assessed value, which is attributed to the stadium.
Okay. Let's break this down. The increase in assessed value means that of all, they measure the assessed value of all the cities in the county, and the assessor prepares a chart. Ours was pretty significant bump. It was above almost 26% increase.
Yes, correct.
Okay, that doesn't mean that your property taxes went up 26%,
No,
and that's why I'm stopping us here.
yes.
it means that the value of your property on the average and the average median is increased almost 26%. Does that mean your property tax is going up 26%? No, it does not. The most that your property taxes can increase in a single year is 2%. That's by law. And I want to make that really clear. So when we say
Yes.
that, we're talking about the value of properties in Inglewood, which is a good thing. It means that those that own their properties are seeing an increase in their ability to amass generational wealth. But they are not, and I repeat, are not going to be charged 26% more for your taxes. The most
No.
they can go up is 2% in a year, unless you buy a new property, unless you refinance. Okay, thank you.
And that 2% only equated to $278,000 for the city.
Thank-
So that more defines what you just stated.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right? Okay. Business license tax. Our business license tax are projected to be $7 million for 1920, which is $850,000 more, or 13.8% higher than the current fiscal year. The increase is attributed to the anticipated increase in business tax applications for new businesses in Inglewood. Our TOT taxes are projected to be $5.7 million for 1920, which is $100,000 or 1.8% higher than the current fiscal year. The increase is attributed again to anticipated increase in hotel lodging in Inglewood. Our card club license fees are projected to be $6 million, which will be flat this fiscal year. The motor vehicle and lieu taxes are estimated to be
Back up, please. Back up, please. Car club license fees, you're talking about the money the city receives for each one of these games, hands that's played, is that right?
yes.
Okay, so understand, even though it says the license fee, it's like a tax on the wagers that are made in the games. And what's really significant about that number, it's about $6 million. It exceeds the revenue we receive from the forum by a quantity of about fivefold. That's how valuable the casino has been. And they employ 300 employees, so they're an employment source and they're a significant revenue source to the city. In fact, the card clubs now generate more money for the city on an annual basis than the racetrack did.
And it's doubled in the last 5-6 years.
Thank you.
I believe I mentioned our vehicle license taxes are estimated to be $13.3 million, which is approximately $1.16 million higher than our current adopted budget. And that concludes our revenues. I will now go into the information relative to our expenditure budget for fiscal year 1920. This slide shows the citywide expenditures by fund, grouped by type, amount, and percentage. I am providing these, the information by group so that you can actually see them on the chart here, because we have quite a few funds within the city. So I've grouped them so that we can see them by category. It's easier. This slide shows the citywide expenditures by fund, grouped by type, amount, and percentage, which are projected to be $251,790,710. As you can see, the general fund makes up 50% or half of the citywide budget for fiscal year 20. Other funds grouped by type that have a significant portion of the citywide amount are our enterprise fund at 19% or $48.3 million, CDBG and special revenues both at 8%. Our Measure IT at 13.8, debt services at 7.4, capital projects at 7.3, grants in our assessment districts all make up our citywide budget. And again, as the mayor mentioned, all but our general fund have restricted revenue sources which have specific expenditure mandates on them. This slide shows the citywide expenditure by department, amount, and percent, which are projected to be $251,790,710. Our police department, public safety, has the greater share at roughly 29%. Leads us to general fund. This slide shows the general fund expenditures, again, by department amount and percent, which are projected to be $125,419,540. As you can see, police again at 56%, over 70 million of the budget.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. You know, every year we say police accounts for more than 50% of the budget, and no one really ever says, well, why is that? Well, one, it's the largest single department in the city. Two, on the average, the majority of the employees there are paid significantly more than the average employee in the rest of the city. In fact, I think we have somewhere around 750 employees now.
Yes.
Okay, around 750 employees,
Part-time.
and I believe over 300 of them are employed in the police department. So when someone says that to you, that the police account for the majority of the budget, there's a reason. It's not because they're drastically overpaid. It means that there are significantly more employees in the police department than there are in the rest of the city. And the police officers, as a category, make more than the average employee in the rest of the city.
And it's not unique to this city.
Oh, absolutely not.
Definitely not. Now, that leads us to this slide here where we have this slide provides a snapshot comparison of the general fund revenues versus expenditures for the last 5 years. So as you can see, we are not anticipating any use of reserves for 1920, nor have we had to use reserves but once in the last 5 years. Needless to say, in fiscal year 15-16, we spent several millions in general fund one times, which included $6.6 million in the senior center, in our new senior center, as well as $1 million in streets. That was the result of why we used reserves that year.
Now I want to stop for 1 second here. This is something near and dear to my heart. Now, the Daily Breeze would take that year, and they would say, the mayor drove a $57,000 Tahoe, and they spent $6 million in reserves. You know, we spent $6 million in reserves to make the senior center the best in the state of California. We chose to do that. We spent $1 million more on streets because we chose to do that. That's a good expenditure of funds, but don't expect to get credit for that from the local paper.
Yeah, if you do the math, we would have had a surplus of probably $2.3 million.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So here we have our capital improvement projects. I provided a graph here to show you the proportional amounts by the support that we're given. So the capital improvement projects are projected to be $20.1 million for fiscal year 20. This slide provides a graph of the CIPs by funding source. The larger triangular portions are supported by the special revenue category funds, which are mostly state and county related street and transportation funds. There are currently no general fund projects appropriated at this time, at which time the city will come back with a summarized group of general fund projects to amend the budget as needed. Of the $20.2 million in projects, this slide provides the project summary by category, with streets and roadways having the most projects. There is only one new project this fiscal year, and that is for public safety related to the city's hazardous mitigation plan update in the amount of $150,000. All the other projects are continuing projects with from prior year with new allocation of funding. So I'd like to stress that our streets and roadways, being the largest in value and count, include 29 projects as listed, totaling over $15 million, mostly for design and rehabilitation of various local streets, various improvements on South Prairie from Century Boulevard to the 105. It also includes environmental review and design for the city's new railroad system, as well as several intelligent transportation system improvements. The city has been improving approximately 30 lane miles of streets each year. Typically, for most cities our size, it's about 10 lane miles, so we're doing 3 times that amount. And just to give you a figurative idea of what that's like, a lane mile is 12 feet wide by 1 mile, or 63,000 feet.
Would it be 62,000 square feet?
Yes, I'm sorry.
All
square
right,
feet.
thank you.
Yes, square feet. That's a lot of road. All right, so with that, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very, very much. Council, are there any questions?
Just one quick
Councilman
thing.
Morales?
The TOT tax, it went up about 100,000, I think you said.
Yes.
I know in the past we've talked about having an audit to make sure we're actually getting all the money that we're due. Has that happened?
We tend to have audits. I'm not sure if, I think we believe we have them once a year. Our TOT audit is once
For
a year.
that one? Because I know the last time we spoke about it, we were planning one.
I can tell you this, I know that Ms. Kilkey has designated a staff person in her office to go out and audit these hotels and are making.
Okay, that's
they're
information you
actually
could give me
going
later.
on site to audit their books and make sure
Thank
that
you.
we're getting the money that we should get.
That's it. And then in our breakdown of the general fund city departments on other, including the fire services, it went down 58.5% on expenditures, which is great. Besides the, I know that the city clerk and the fire and certain things were mentioned as decreases and why. Was there some other examples of why it went down so much?
It also includes our support for Measure IT.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We increased our support for
Fair.
Measure
I'll get
IT.
up with that.
That's
Fair.
what that is.
Mayor,
Councilman Franklin?
I think also we need to acknowledge that if it didn't come in Mr. Fields' report, I know I read it, it had to do with the number of vacancies that we have in the budget, so there was salary savings, which also allowed us to have additional revenue funds to spend.
Right, so I mentioned there was about $5 million that we anticipate saving in future vacancy savings for next fiscal year.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gannon. And the direction the staff would be to carry on. 01,
Staff report recommending adoption of a salary ordinance for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Motion to waive further reading?
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
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 Move adoption?
Second.
Madam Clerk.
members Dodson,
Aye.
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 Mayor Buds.
Aye. A1,
Thank you, Mayor. No oral reports.
CM1,
Thank you, Mayor. No oral reports.
CC1,
Next week, Tuesday, September 24th, is National Voter Registration Day, and I'm encouraging everyone who is not registered to get registered. And if you have children of the ages of 16 and 17, they can pre-register. And if you're 18 years and older and you're not registered, the time is now. You can get the forms in the city clerk's office, or you can also register online at registertovote.ca.gov. And also, Councilman Padilla, I didn't get to go to the Hispanic Heritage Festival, but I heard it was a blast.
It
And
was.
I'm not surprised. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's the end of my report. Thank you.
and we all thank Alex for inviting us to his Hispanic Fiesta.
Mayor, I'm glad you made it. Glad you were able to be there.
Yeah, it was his car show, but okay. Let's see. Not hating on you. No.
It was the poster
You
threw
could've
her
not-
off. It was the poster threw her
That
off,
was
man.
funny, dude. Come on. Let's see. Oh, shoot.
I think that's public.
CT1.
I just saw an interesting article that appeared in Wall Street Journal that a number of entities like Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan and also Citibank are starting to use a different criteria for evaluating creditworthiness. They're they're talking about using things like how a person pay their phone bill, and also how improvement in grades. And primarily why they're looking at these other factors is that they saw that roughly about 53 million people don't have any credit report at all, and another 56 million basically have bad credit. So what they're trying to do is increase the pool for those who they're better, able to get that money more. So they're trying to look at these other criteria. So I thought that was rather interesting. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you so much. CI1.
Initiative by Mayor James T. Butts Jr. recommending authorization to grant funds to the South Bay Cities Council and of Governments for the implementation of the fiber optic network.
Move items 1 through 4.
Brief discussion before we vote. The South Bay Cities Council of Governments is a collective of all the South Bay cities, from ranging up to PV, and they sought a grant from Metro to make a fiber optic loop that will provide connectivity to the South Bay, also allow the individual cities to do as we have done in Inglewood with an intelligent traffic system, okay? And it'll also allow that system to cross borders as well. And so at first, the Metro staff said it didn't qualify as a transportation project, but I'm the chair this year, and we had a meeting, and we helped them understand that connecting traffic systems is a transportation program. So we crossed that hurdle. But then it turns out it's a $3.8 million program, and it's a reimbursement program. So the first amount is $800,000, and the cities didn't know what to do. And so, amazingly, out of all the South Bay cities, they came to Inglewood to ask to borrow the money, which will be reimbursed to us in about 90 days, which I find very fascinating, that Torrance and Manhattan Beach and Redondo would want to borrow money from Inglewood to get the program started. I hope you get the irony in that, right? So now we're Big Bank Hank, so Breeze won't write that either. But anyway, that's what this is about. So, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilman Dodson,
Aye.
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 Aye. Inglewood Successor Agency is in order. CSA 1, and H1.
Move without payment? I thought we did it.
already.
Well, do we have to do it again because it's under
You
successor?
got it on the.
Is there a reason it's separated?
I just don't want to mess up.
Fine, because I
So
don't
just-
even have that.
Okay, if there's any staff listening,
That's an
that's
error,
otherwise.
and it's the same thing for the Housing Authority, I would assume. So we'll ignore that.
Just duplicate.
So we'll adjourn the Successor Agent Housing Authority. There's an appointment to the Arts Commission. Alex Padilla nominates and I appoint Ona Ehrlich to the Arts Commission.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members, Dodson,
Aye.
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 Aye. Public comment. Any persons wishing to comment on any item related to city business may do so at this time.
Hispanic Heritage Festival was amazing. The car show was wonderful too. And we had actually some people requesting, which I told Councilman Padilla, that people are requesting to have a second car show throughout the year, like a Valentine's Day with the wives. So overall, the festival was amazing, great time, everyone seemed to enjoy, so kudos.
With that, we'll close public comment. Any council comments? Councilman Dotson?
Mayor, first of all, I want to thank Artie Fields for your leadership in preparing the 20-year budget. Every year you work with staff to ensure that we have a balanced budget. One thing that I really appreciate, that you provide us with a budget message that explains the entire document that everyone can understand. And thank you for your work in the budget along with your hardworking staff. Now, I would like to invite all of you to the grand reopening of the tennis courts in Vincent Park. This will be done on Saturday, 21st. Join us as we celebrate the opening of the newly renovated tennis courts. Open ceremony is 11:30, free play until 7 p.m. City of Champions also will be having a 5K. Asking you to come out and bring your family and run or walk or, whatever your preference to do. I think you would really enjoy it. The staff have worked real hard. I know my assistant, Alicia Smith, has worked tirelessly to make this a successful event. So on the 28th, you can come back to Vincent Park and get your run on your walk on, whatever you want to do. I also want to thank Park and Recs, Sabrina Barnes, and especially Bartrice and Kendra for bringing this job in on time. They have really worked with the contractor day, night, weekends to make sure this job is done. And if you get a chance, go by and look. They're still working on it, but it's really going to be fabulous. So with that, thank you all for coming. Have a great day.
Councilman Padilla, District 2.
Thanks, Mayor. I too want to congratulate you, Artie, you and your staff, Mr. Estrada, you and your staff as well, everybody that was a part of putting this budget together. And I got to tell you, we're doing so much more at times with less, and our folks are wearing so many different hats, and we're getting pulled in so many different directions, yet, as you can see, we're getting the job done. And we're doing it, we have 91,000 left over there, you were saying? Consider where we were 5-6 years ago, right? 8 years ago, 8 years ago, we were like, 6 months away from, bankruptcy, if you will. Amazing what we're doing here in the city of Inglewood. And I want to thank you guys, the residents, and our staff here in City Hall for believing in us and supporting us. Some of the decisions we made along this path weren't always the most popular, but we did it because we knew it's the right thing to do for the city of Inglewood, for our future. And it's paid off. The dividends are tremendous. And we're going to continue to move the city forward. This budget that we present today, that we looked at, we're going to come back and revisit it throughout the year because it's a work in progress. We do mid-year budget reviews. We're always looking at our budget, trying to make changes when we need to make those changes. You look at the capital improvement projects, things that we're doing long-term here in the city of Inglewood. Our street resurfacing programs. It's amazing what Public Works is doing with that. Our traffic engineers. So, we're certainly headed in the right direction, and I'm excited for us, for the city of Inglewood. So many great things going on. I also want to thank, moving on to give thanks to Teresa Estrada and Sabrina Barnes and all their staff. The Hispanic Heritage Festival was a tremendous success. It was the first year we did it on Regent Street. We made it more of a street fair. You could see all the folks that were there, the vendors, the booths. I did the classic car show. I had over 100 classic cars out there. These are events that we do to celebrate all the good things that are happening in the city of Inglewood. And we bring all the different cultures together, you know, to celebrate with one another. And so I want to thank staff for everything they've done to help us, you know, exemplify what we stand for as a city. And so, you know, kudos to all the staff that were out there to make that event a huge success. So thank you to everyone for coming out and supporting that. Eric, this Thursday, the Chamber is doing the Police and Fire Appreciation Luncheon. Are there still tickets available if anybody's, okay, limited tickets are still available. Folks, if you're looking to go, it's an opportunity to thank our police and our firefighters for everything they do every single day. And it's gonna be at the Crown Plaza right here on Century Boulevard. If you want more information, contact the Chamber. We hope to see you there. With that, thank you, Mayor. You guys have a great day.
Sorry, you guys, there's no time left to talk.
He covered everything anyway.
Councilman Franklin, District 4.
And I'm not laughing. I just want to make sure that everyone appreciates the value of the time and effort that our staff is dedicated, committed for the quality of life of the city of Inglewood residents, as well as the businesses in the city. There has been a significant groundswell to see how the infrastructure, the quality of life issues have mushroomed dramatically over the last 8 years, and that the value is being recognized by the residents, but clearly it's our staff we tip our hats off to. So thank you, City Manager, Mr. Fields, and on all your departments that are involved. I also am very impressed to see this past Saturday the Hispanic Heritage Festival that took place this past Saturday. I had concerns regarding where the venue is going to be located and the layout, but my hats go off to the Hispanic Heritage Committee, the Parks and Recreation Department, particularly Sabrina Barnes, and District 4 resident that is also in my area, which is Miss Estrada, Teresa Estrada, and then Alex Padilla and their team. To see that it was laid out very nicely, where you had a food court adjacent to the kiddie area for the games, et cetera, and then you had the stage right on the Boulevard of Regent. Immediately following that was the dance floor, plus then the audience could sit under a canopy with chairs, and we had that nice ocean breeze that came down the Regent, which was exceptionally nice. And then all of the community chess organizations that was following behind that had all their services and products they had made available for us. And then finally the Car Classic show, I was overwhelmed. There were so many vehicles that I appreciated the time and effort that those individuals had invested in these vehicles that are 25 years and older, that it was awesome. So again, hats off to everyone that was involved. I also want to reach out to the Friends of the Inglewood Public Library, because we also had a book sale that same time period. And they also was having a very successful event. And so we do all we can for those that support the libraries, particularly the Inglewood Public Libraries, to get out when they have these book sales in support of our friends, family, and loved ones. And I'm particularly partial of going there because I have grandkids. And it's great to be able to get nursery books and gently worn books that we can sit down with our grandkids and watch them mature in life. So I'm glad that I was able to participate in all these events, and everyone have a safe and blessed day.
Thank you, Councilman Morales.
Thank you. I'll start by thanking staff, first of all, for the budget and the message we got today, but I'll start with the Hispanic Festival. You know, it's amazing how much greater it gets every year, and obviously staff does so much. Sabrina, Teresa, their staff, our police, our code enforcement, the guys that clean up. I mean, they do so much. They plan it, they help put it together. And you know, we get to take credit for it up here. And that's, you know, I just want staff to know that we're so grateful for that. They do a great job. And Alex does a great job on his car show. The amazing thing about festivals such as that is that we tend to get a response from everybody. Our state officials are there, local officials from other cities come by. That just shows kind of who we are and what we've becoming, and how much people really value the city of Inglewood. I know Senator Bradford's here now, and he joined us that day as well. I don't think he misses many of our events, so thank you, Stevie B, for that. In regards to the fact that it exists in the first place, there was a time that in 1997, 98, they stopped putting it in the budget. And it wasn't until about 12 years ago that they started to bring those back. And then we moved some stuff around, and it just continued to grow, and everybody is so supportive of those festivals now, so I appreciate staff for that. Now, in regards to the actual budget, again, thank you, Mr. Esparza, Mr. Fields, for putting it together. Like Alex said, it's a living document, but what's amazing about it is how much it's grown. The fact that the mayor, I think, pointed out 750 employees. When we were really making some tough decisions, I think we might have gone down to about 600. 622, and it was one of the toughest things that we had to do was do layoffs and cutbacks and really ask the employees to skip a day's pay every week for a while.
Every other week.
Every other week for a while. And that we did. I want you guys to know, staff in general, our employees in general, that we are where we are because you took that hit with us. And we appreciate it. And the council, we took the same percentage off of our checks. And I'm very proud that we did that. Now we are where we are because we made some tough decisions back then. I think it was the water increase. I think it was the fact that we cut back. Exactly. And PERS and medical continue to go up every year. And we continue our stability, which is a sign of how healthy we are, because while the cost of our payments to PERS goes up and medical costs continue to go up, we continue to stay stabilized. And that's the most incredible thing that I don't think we get to point out here, but the fact that those go up and we continue to stay where we are, even though we don't see all this extra money, the fact that we don't have to say we're in any kind of deficit is an amazing departure from where we were 8-9 years ago. Amazing. So I just want to say I'm very proud of that. I wanted to point out the ridiculous ways that the city used to have to make budget by these one-time revenue things, selling off our properties. I mean, it was ridiculous what we had to do to stay afloat. I know that our financial health is where we need to be. We're going to get better, and it's a credit to staff and the leadership here, Mayor, my colleagues, and the employees who did the tough times with us. So I just wanted to say thank you. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. Before our closing, I would yield some of my time to Senator Bradford if he wanted to say a couple words. Oh, he's just glad to be here. I want to start. I want to be here too, Steve. I want to say before I close that Senator Bradford is always there for us because the things that we're doing ruffle a lot of feathers, people with a lot of money, and he's always there for us. And I want to thank you publicly for that. Okay, you guys. Everybody covered everything, but I really want to acknowledge the committee, the Hispanic Heritage Committee. I really want to acknowledge Councilman Medea, although I give him a hard time, because he works hard, on that car show, and he deserves a lot of credit for that, you guys. See, look, he put your picture up there again, and right, and I want to really emphasize a couple things today to everybody. That 26% in valuation means that the total number of properties that are on the tax rolls, they compare it to the end of 2012, which when everything was at its lowest in the county, and we've increased 26% in total valuation, higher than any other city in the county. Amazing. Another thing I want to emphasize is that doesn't mean your property taxes went up 26%. I got to keep saying that because I swear people will stop me in the gym and say, our taxes are going up 26%. No, they're not. They are not. The most they can go up in a single year is 2%. If you hold on to your property and don't buy a new property, they can't go to market. I want to make sure of that. The other thing I want to make really clear is that we don't get accurate coverage by some of the papers as to what's going on here. Don't let anyone convince you that there's any problem with finances in the city of Inglewood. 5 of the last 6 years we had surpluses. The only year we didn't is because we chose to do extra things. We chose to spend more on the senior center than we had allocated for it, for the seniors. That's a good thing. We, in January 2016, have been recognized since then by Moody's Investments as the most liquid city of all the cities they rate nationwide. And what does that measure? They measure your unobligated reserves compared to your spending plan. Look at our spending plan. It's about $125 million this year. We have a little over $60 million unobligated. What does that mean? That means we could run the city for 6 months in the projected budget without receiving a dime in revenue. There's no other city in the South Bay that can make that claim. I want to compliment, the staff. I want to compliment the council. The council's made some wise decisions. They compliment the city manager. And then when we talk about who's up for the day, Sabrina and Teresa Estrada and their employees are up for the day. They do great jobs on these events. These events are part of our brand. They're part of our community sense of self. That's what real cities do. They're beyond the nuts and bolts of financial management and paving streets and trimming trees and providing public safety. They're about the things that bind us together as opposed to the things that divide us. So I want to thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Sabrina. Today, this is your turn in the barrel, and all your employees for doing such a great job. Thank you, Kiona, for the job you and Sharon and David do day in and day out, and you guys just sit there quietly, unnoticed, until you have to give this presentation, and I interrupt you incessantly. So, with that, I want to close this council meeting and say good job for everybody. And we took an hour, you guys, and I apologize. Thank you very much.